Hey, ladies and gents, and welcome back to Let's Take a Spin. We're back. And it's a solo episode. It's just me. I really want to take a second before we get to what we need to talk about. I want to thank everyone for being at the shows Sunday in Wayne, PA, which is a Philly suburb, and then last week in DC was phenomenal. It was my first time in DC, a place called The Pocket, and Nicole Safos band did a great job, and it was also my first time meeting Gracie J, and Emily Drinker opened in Wayne for the record release, and it was fantastic. Her and Ethan Kane did a phenomenal job opening the night up and really setting the tone. It was such a joy, and I just want to thank every single one of you for coming, because to find dog sitters, babysitters, whatever you got to find, and then find parking, get dinner, come to the show. I am so grateful. And I want you to know that. It means the world. And she's here. After a year and a half of hard work and really working on it, here is the record. It's here. It's in my hands. I remember when I first got it, I sent a picture to my designer, and I was like, I have it now. We don't need to worry about it anymore. Got the lyrics on both sides here. And wait till you see this. It's the special edition vinyl. Boom! It's really cool. If you put it under a certain light, it's really trippy as it spins. And they're all different. None of them are the same design. This is a completely unique record, and we're very proud of it. Studio 4 was the name of the company. Phenomenal. And so happy with how everything turned out. I couldn't have asked for a better release night. And Wayne, you guys really showed up, and I can't wait to go back to DC. It's going to be a blast. Anyway, today's episode, the guest I was supposed to have on is actually my fault. I got sick, so I had to take the night off, and I had to reschedule. But we decided to do, we're going to do a Q&A, and just whatever questions you got, I'll answer them about the record, about the history of the band, whatever. And we got a bunch of questions we're going to get to here, and let's just do that. Let's get up to our first question, shall we? Question 1. Where did the song title At the End of the World come from, and why is it the name of the record? Well, for a few reasons. I had a notes file that had a list of really interesting titles. I didn't know if it were going to be song titles or album titles or anything of that ilk, but this one always spoke to me, and it always gave me a little imagery of what I would want an image for it to be, and it never came to fruition. But it's like a cartoon and a guy walking a high wire across an open divide between two cities that happen to be on fire, and you can see the guy has a really big smile on his face. He's enjoying the ride and enjoying the crossing the high wire and ignoring all the chaos around him. Yeah, but I loved the way it sounded, At the End of the World. It wasn't the name of the record originally. It was going to be Here and Now. But funnily enough, the band, even when we were recording at Retro City Studios, we got to that song. Everyone in the booth started singing the Luther Vandross song, Here and Now, I promise to love faithfully. And I was like, oh no. I didn't think to look about album titles, and it's true. It's so important. It's like whatever you name your record has to not have that name already out there. It's something I skipped on that step for a few of these tunes. Like there are other tunes called At the End of the World or Here and Now, and I just went with At the End of the World because the whole batch of songs rang with that title, and it really worked. It just works for me, and it fits the cover so great just because of the darkness and the light, and it's really cool, and you know what, I'm really proud of it, and I'm glad it's not called Here and Now, even though it's a great song, and I'm super proud of it. I don't think I wanted the record to be called that. As for the song, that was kind of instilled in the tune anyway, but this batch of tunes, I could have just called this record my name, which most people do, at least back in the day. Everybody would have their first record would just be their name or introducing whatever their name is. But this just rang true. At the End of the World was just made sense for the title of this batch, if you will. It's such a singles market, but I love albums. I like listening from top to bottom, and that song just seemed to be a really good encapsulator of the whole thing. But anyway, I digress. Another question. Let's see. Why are you letting your beard get so long? I'm glad you asked. So I have what many would describe as a baby face, and it's really bad. The minute I shave, I lose about I don't know, 10 years, but like I look like a child, a fat child. I'm trying to hide the chin. One thing that's interesting and I've run into is there's a rule, at least in stand-up comedy. I really like watching like the stand-up comedy and how improvisers like have to dress and things like that. But there's some sort of a rule or a guideline that a lot of male comedians have to follow, which is don't do beards. And the reason why is because people trust you more when you don't have a beard. You're just open. But if you have a beard, it seems like you're hiding something, which in this case we are. But I think that there's some pushback on that these days. Like, you have your Tom Segura's and all those type of comedians. And also with singer-songwriters, we've all had beards for a long time. Everyone's trying to hide that chin. But I'm letting it grow so long because I just hate my baby face so much. When I lose some weight and like I feel comfortable, maybe I'll shave it off one day and that'll be the new look. But for right now, I'm really enjoying having my beard. It's fun to stroke too. Next question. Why do you lead from the drums now? Oh, I think that question's about, so if you've come to my shows lately, you'll notice that we put the drums in the front of the stage when the band's set up. And I think that comes from, we didn't want me to be all the way in the back or on the side, which is what we were doing before, kind of the a la the band. The drums would be here, we'd put bass here, we put guitar here. If you're like looking at the stage where you guys are, drums, bass, guitar, keys, and the drums and the keys would be looking at each other. But it didn't quite, I would have to turn my whole body to sing to the audience, and it like kind of worked, but it never felt right. So one day last year in November, we were doing a show for what's called Rock and Roll Playhouse, and it was a Springsteen show. We were playing all the tunes of Springsteen for young kids, and I've always wanted to do that, like play the tunes of Springsteen and kind of pick and choose the ones that I've always wanted to do. And I decided that we were going to put me dead center, like a true front man, put the drums right in the front, and I'll be 1,000% honest with you, it was the most intimidating thing I've ever done up to now. It was crazy. We put the drums right in the front, but the thing that happened in that show that was fascinating was I finally felt open enough that I could like emote, or I could sing to the audience and not all the way in the back. Like I could sing to every single person in the room, and it was actually mesmerizing. And then when I finally got comfortable, I was able to use my arms a little more to like sing to people like a lead singer would, but I would still be able to play the drum parts if they were simple enough. And it was so much fun, and I was like, oh, I have to do that again. So we did it for New Year's Eve last year, for Chile F New Year's Eve, which we do at Fat Lady Brewing Company. And same thing. I was able to emote to the crowd. And it was like, this is it. This is my thing. And it was also the birth of, I usually have a microphone coming from my left side, which is over here. And the mic stand kind of comes over. It was the first time I had tried putting my arm up and like doing this on the mic stand. And for some reason, people have been telling me for the past year, like, that needs to be a shirt. Like, that's like your look. And I was like, huh, interesting. So I've kind of played into it. And it's nice to have like a thing, but I digress. But the drums in the front, it's, well, unless you mean, why do you leave from the drums now? Unless you mean, like, I did play guitar in my band before joining Hambone Relay. And I think the reason why was because I felt uncomfortable leading from a non-chordal instrument. For example, like when you're in the front and you're playing chords, like playing your song, people can listen to you as like the helm or what needs to be, correct. Excuse me. But it was easier to do it that way than to lead from the drum kit, because you have to trust your people so much with the chordal structure and the arrangement of the song. And at the time, I didn't have that faith, if that makes any sense. It's not on them. It's just, it was a me thing. It was, I didn't trust anybody to not be able to at least have it down. And now I'm so thankful for my team of musicians that I play with. Like, we had kind of have a revolving door at a Rob Tait band, but the main people playing guitar for me these days are Eric McGarry and Will Currier, and keys is whoever's available. There's tons of keys players that play with me. Adam Flicker played the release party last week. It's great to have people that you trust, and I can do it from the drum kit and not worry about the arrangements. And that's been a huge blessing. I love those people, I love all those guys. Anyway, moving right along. What's the history of your group? Okay. I throughout the 2010s, I started doing open mics and things, open jams, and I wrote a few songs and I had played them out. And I even made a record with my friend Jordan McCree from college, who's the drummer for Ill Dutes, and he does a lot, and he does a lot in the musical theater area now. But we made a record together in his basement. It was his first record I ever made, and it was my first record I ever made. That was mine, and we worked really hard on it. We put it out, and it was pretty good for what we had. And then a couple things happened. One, I burned out. Two, I joined a band called Hambone Relay, which was an organ trio in the jam band space, and my stuff kind of fell by the wayside, and Hambone Relay took off, and we were touring a lot and working, and I'm so thankful to Mark, who runs that band, but I was with them for years. And then, this is the same old story. COVID happened, and Mark, decided he was going to move to LA. Mark went to LA, and he took Hambone Relay with him. At the time, the guitar player of Hambone Relay was Luke Farrakhan, and Luke had a few bands already. He was working with everybody, and I felt like a boat without a paddle. I didn't have any destination. I didn't have any group. I didn't have anything. I was just kind of lost, and I decided, what the hell with it. Honestly, it was a little traumatizing. I never told Mark this. It's a little traumatizing to be left alone and not have anything that's yours. So I vowed that, this is going to be mine, my songs. I own this. No one can take away what you own, which is true, but the thing that everyone says, when you start your own business, you are on your own, but that's okay. Nobody can take it from you. So that's one of the reasons I started this band. But then I started writing these songs. I was like, oh, this is amazing. I'm having so much fun. And, we went through a big shift in terms of personnel, but for example, the first two shows that the Rob Tait band did was it was in Reading Distilling, and what was the other one? It was Reading Distilling, and it was someplace else, and I can't remember what it was, but it was our first two shows, 3-hour sets apiece, and we learned a lot of music, and maybe it was Grape Room, I don't remember, but we had a blast, and we worked really hard, and I had some of the songs off this record, but not all of them. But it made me believe, this is the thing. So then I played a few shows throughout the year of 2020. Right, that's right. And then at the end of 2022, we decided, okay, we're going to go into the studio. I knew of Matt Muir from Retro City or Kawari Studios. He works at both. Great drummer, great engineer. And we talked, and I was like, I want to make a record. And he's like, yeah, let's go for it. And having a drummer at the helm really helps. Like, he knew what I wanted, and I knew what he wanted. It was great relationship. And we decided that after New Year's Day, we would book the studio for 4.5 days, and we would just get the band in and just nail 10 of these 10 songs. Because there were 10 songs. One of them got cut early in the process because it didn't work. That song was called All My Friends and Me, which I play live every now and again, but it didn't make the record. Yeah, so let me think. We recorded, and then I booked, I think 2 vocal session days, and then I got sick, and I had to, power through that. I didn't know what I had, but, I had to power through that, and a lot of the vocals you hear on the record are actually me, not 100% vocally, and then I went back in to do background vocals and some other things, and we mixed for, I think, 3 days after that, and here we are. We got it mastered, and yeah, played a bunch of shows, and that kind of brings us to now. We worked really hard on this record, and this group of folks, it's ever evolving, but I'm so thankful to everyone who's been a part of this ride, because it's also, kind of led me to open up my songwriting, and I feel like I'm getting better and better, and I love it so much. Anyway, I feel like I just went on a giant tangent. My deepest apologies. What is your favorite memory of the recording process for the record? I think my favorite memory of the recording process was going into the playback room after hearing the first couple takes. What did we do first? I think we did, I can't remember what we did first. I feel like it was Matilda or Highwire, one of those two, but listening back and going, oh, this is great, and just blown away, and just feeling that sense of relief, okay, I think this is going to work. That was the greatest memory, and also collaborating with everybody. Who I forgot to mention? Joe Plowman came in and did upright bass for a couple tunes on that record as well, and he did an absolutely great job. He played on Wichita and Turn Out the Light. We had a whole smosh of musicians come and do that record. Oh my God, it was a great time. All right, anyway, next question. Who are your top 3 songwriting influences? There are a few answers. All time, I have to say Springsteen. I'm a Jersey boy at heart. Rosalita, the song, is the reason I became a musician. Like, that song just went in my veins. It was like, Amos Lee. Love Amos's music. Especially Mission Bell, and especially Mountains of Sorrow, Rivers of Song. And then, let's say Damien Rice for top 3. Just because my Faded Fantasy? Whatever that record is. Phenomenal. I think he did it with Rick Rubin. But if I had to... Like, that's all time, but, like, people I'm listening to now are, like, Jeffrey Martin, Anna Tivell, pretty much everyone on the Fluff and Gravy record label. Go check them out. Oliver Wood, Norah Jones, Miles Davis. And I get it, like, jazz isn't what I do, but Miles Davis wrote some of the best heads or melodies of all time. They're super memorable, and the minute you hear Miles, you know it's Miles. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You know it's Miles. And if anybody tries to play like them, like, oh, you're trying to play like Miles Davis. Who else am I listening to? Brett Dennen, great songwriter. Joy Oladokun, that's how you say her name. My apologies. But yeah, lots of people. It's never just 3. It can't be 3. But yeah, especially Jeffrey Martin. I love Jeffrey Martin. And I've talked about him before on this podcast. He's one of my favorites. But anyway, next question is, who are your top drumming influences? Oh, this is great. Philly Joe Jones. I studied jazz for a long time. I love Philly Joe Jones. Jeff Hamilton. I've been learning a lot of brushes lately and trying to learn his stuff. It's been difficult, but it's a lot of fun. Let's see. Jay Bellarose. He plays with like Robert Plant and Alison Krauss. He played a lot for T-Bone Burnett, or still does, I'm assuming. Like, the way he writes drum parts is fascinating and just so deep and so good. Levon Helm, Steve Jordan, Steve Gadd, and the drummer for Chris Stapleton, Derek Mixon. Just big, fat, beefy drums. Oh, the best. Anyway, I could sit and talk drums for forever, but I don't want to bore you guys. Moving right along. The question here is, what was your favorite part of your tour? I wouldn't call it a tour. It's just 2 shows, but like Philly and DC. I think it was meeting all the people. When I was in DC, I went early and I met a ton of folks in DC, and I was handing out flyers trying to get people to come to the show. But also, the Pocket, which is the place we played in DC, had an interesting thing. It's a small room, but they had a pretty good walk-in crowd. I met a ton of folks that had never heard of us before. They were just looking for something to do, and it was a blast to meet these people and to show them our music. And it was like, oh wow, we really like you guys, and making fans that way. It was very authentic or organic. I had a blast. And also just performing with my crew. Like, these guys are great. Nicole Safos, Eric McGarry, and Will Courier, and Adam Flicker, at least in the Wayne show. All right, next question. Do you and your father still play songs together? Yes. Oh yeah, all the time. My dad, Jeff, and he taught me how to play guitar, and we would play at family reunions. We would do a lot of cover songs. We would play out every now and again, but he taught me a lot of songs wrong sometimes, but like, he was a great performer, and he knew all the lyrics, and when I say wrong, I'm not saying the whole thing, but like, he would have his spin on things, and then when I hear the real version, go, that's not how it goes. But my father started writing songs, and they're funny tunes, and that inspired me to write music. Like, seeing him just kind of create it out of nothing, I was like, you know what, I can do that too, and that's where it all came from. All right. Last question. What do you have coming up? Well, that's good. That's a great question. We have a show in New Hope on November let me make sure I get the date right. November the 22nd, and that's going to be announced soon. And then in Philly, we're going to be announcing it very shortly. Chill AF New Year's Eve, which is my New Year's Eve show I do every year. The first year we had Brittany Ann Trambaugh. We had Joshua Chase Miller and Driftwood Soldier. Last year, we had Alexis Cunningham and Taylor Bradshaw. This year, we're going all Philly. We're doing Sophie Corin, Emmett Druding, and myself. It's going to be a great time. Sophie's doing duo, Emmett's bringing a whole band, and then we're closing out the night. It's called Chill AF New Year's Eve. We do it every year. No DJ, all live music. Chill. It's not bumping in a club and like it's too much. This is definitely a situation where you get to sit, enjoy the show, have a beer. We'll do the countdown together. It'll be super fun. And then in terms of next year, I'm beginning to book real tours, like solo acoustic stuff, a couple band shows, mostly solo acoustic, to really start getting into new cities and stuff like that. And it's super exciting. But yeah, the future's bright. Got a lot in other things, happening I can't talk about, but I'm very excited. Anyway, that's the Q&A for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and letting me kind of tell stories about this whole record. And real quick, I do want to shout out two folks. Lisa Latito helped me design this record, and it's gorgeous. She helped design it. Will Drinker, the brother of Emily Drinker, took this photo in his basement. And we did a whole, if you notice, all the singles have a different angle of my face with different color background. We just did that in his basement. And he has like a green screen, and it worked perfectly. And then Studio 4 helped design this vinyl, which I think is gorgeous. And then each vinyl is different. If you'd like one, go ahead to the podcast show notes and go ahead and pick up your copy. And guess what? You can also get this. Rob Tait shirts are out. So go get yourself one. Thank you so much for hopping on to Let's Take a Spin. Let me tell these stories. And I can't wait to see you guys soon on the road. Make sure you're following me on Instagram. That's where I'm mostly at. And please drop me a line. Hop on the newsletter. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Let's take a spin.